Geographers often divide large territories such as the United States into smaller units to examine them more closely. In this program, we will examine the U.S. as a whole and also take a more detailed look at our country's special land areas, natural resources, waterways, and people. The United States encompasses some 3,794,000 square miles. Over 250,000 square miles of U.S. territory consists of bodies of water, such as the Great Lakes and the Chesapeake Bay. Based on its area, the United States is the third largest country in the world. Only Russia and Canada are bigger. America consists of 50 states. And except for Hawaii, which is out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, every state is located on the continent of North America. The lower 48 states cover much of the North American continent. They are bordered by the nations of Canada on the north and Mexico to the south. Each of these 48 states shares a border with at least one other state. Located in the northernmost region of the continent, Alaska does not adjoin any other states. Instead, it shares its eastern boundary with Canada. Of the 50 states, Alaska is by far the largest, encompassing a land area of nearly 600,000 square miles. In fact, Alaska is more than 500 times the size of Rhode Island, our smallest state. But even though Alaska's land area is so much larger, Rhode Island's population actually exceeds Alaska's by over 400,000 people. States in certain areas of the country are quite similar to one another in terms of their general land features, their climate, and the species of plants and animals that are found there. Based on such similarities, geographers group states together into geographical regions for purposes of study. The 7 basic regions of the United States are the New England region, the Middle Atlantic region, the Southeastern region, the Midwestern region, the Mountain region, the Pacific region, and the Southwestern region. Besides studying the world's land areas, geographers also examine the distribution of its human populations. This branch of geography is known as demography. In 2004, the population of the U.S. was just over 293 million people, making it the third most populous country in the world. In fact, only China and India have larger populations than the U.S. The populations of the individual states vary considerably. California has the largest population with 36 million people, followed by Texas with almost 23 million, and New York with a population of 19 million. Wyoming is the least populated state with slightly more than 500,000 people. On average, there are about 77 people living on each square mile of this country. The concentration of people per square mile is known as the population density. This population density map shows the distribution of the population across the lower 48 states. On this map, populated areas are shown in white. As we can see, there are vast rural areas where very few people live, and many heavily populated city or urban areas. Approximately 68% of the people in the U.S. live in some 452 urbanized areas. In a few of these areas, such as New York City, there are as many as 20,000 people per square mile. In fact, New York City is the largest city in the United States. New York has a population of around 8 million people. Los Angeles, California is the second largest U.S. city, with a population of slightly over 3,700,000 people. And Chicago, Illinois is the third largest U.S. city, with about 2,900,000 residents. In the United States, only 1.5% of the people are Native Americans. That is, people whose ancestors lived on this continent thousands of years ago. Nearly everyone else who lives in America is either a recent immigrant or else is descended from immigrants, meaning people who came here from other countries. Immigrants to our country usually arrive here of their own free will. However, the ancestors of most African Americans were brought here by force to work as slaves. In addition to regions and human populations, geographers also study the Earth's topography, that is, the shape of its lands. To do this, they create topographical maps. Topographical maps are specialized maps that show the elevation, meaning the height of the land, and they also include such features as hills, valleys, and rivers. This topographical map shows the highest elevations colored in dark brown, while the lowest elevations are shown in blue-green. The elevations in between are shown in shades of brown, yellow, and tan. At sea level, the elevation is 0 feet. Almost all the land in the United States lies above sea level. But a few places, such as Death Valley, California, actually lie below sea level. Geographers divide the United States into major land areas based on elevation and type of terrain. For example, one major land area of the United States is called the coastal lowlands. This is the flat, low-lying land that gradually rises from sea level in the eastern part of the country. Another major land area is called the Great Plains. This area is part of the vast interior plains that occupy much of the central part of the lower 48 states. It consists of mostly flat land of medium elevation. The Rocky Mountains, which lie to the west of the Great Plains, make up another major land region. The Rockies are the largest mountain system in North America. This range begins in northern Alaska and extends south through Canada down into northern New Mexico. The towering peaks of the Rockies often soar to over 14,000 feet. In fact, 46 peaks in the state of Colorado are over 14,000 feet tall. In the east, the mountains of the Appalachian Highlands region extend from Alabama north into the Canadian province of Quebec. The tallest peak in the Appalachians is less than half the height of the tallest of the Rocky Mountain peaks. To the west of the Rocky Mountains is a huge area of desert land known as the Great Basin. Streams in this region do not flow into the ocean. Instead, they flow into lakes where the water evaporates. Death Valley, California lies in the Great Basin region. The Cascade and the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges are located to the west of the Great Basin. Both these ranges have numerous peaks over 10,000 feet in elevation. The Cascades are volcanic mountains. Mount St. Helens, a volcano in the Cascades Range, erupted violently back in 1980. Volcanoes are also found in the mountains of Alaska and Hawaii. On these peaks, billowing smoke and hot molten lava flows are quite common sights. "23 of our states have coastlines along bodies of salt water. The Pacific Ocean runs along the west coast and completely surrounds Hawaii, while the Atlantic Ocean forms the eastern coast of the country. The Gulf of Mexico borders the southern coast, and the Arctic Ocean borders the northern coast of Alaska. The Great Lakes occupy 94,000 square miles on or near America's border with Canada. These 5 lakes are Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. The Great Lakes as a whole form the largest body of fresh water in the world and are the source of drinking water for many large cities, including Chicago. In addition, the Great Lakes are vital to the shipping industries of both the U.S. and Canada. The longest river in the United States is the Mississippi River. This mighty river flows out of Lake Itasca in Minnesota and eventually empties into the Gulf of Mexico. The Mississippi and its tributaries drain an area of over 1 million square miles, called the Mississippi River Basin. This is almost all the land between the Appalachian Highlands and the Rocky Mountains. In addition, the Mississippi River system handles about 60% of the freight carried on America's inland waterways. The Colorado River, which has its headwaters in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, is one of the principal rivers in the western United States. The Colorado is a major source of drinking water for cities such as Phoenix, Arizona, Los Angeles and San Diego, California, as well as Las Vegas, Nevada. Colorado River water is also used to irrigate desert lands for farming and to generate hydroelectric power. A second major western river is the Columbia River, which begins in the Canadian province of British Columbia and empties into the Pacific at the Oregon-Washington border. The water of this great river also irrigates millions of acres of farmland. Nearly a dozen dams on the Columbia, such as the Grand Coulee Dam in Washington state, generate around 1/3 of the hydroelectric power produced in the U.S. The Columbia can also be navigated by large ocean-going ships that travel as far upstream as Portland, Oregon. A number of very large rivers are found on the east coast of the United States too, and many of them, such as the Savannah River that runs between Georgia and South Carolina, are used by large ships that transport goods. Before the days of electric power, the water power of several eastern rivers was harnessed to run factories like this one in Rhode Island. River water was diverted to turn water wheels that were connected to belts and pulleys that ran machines throughout the factories. And in this way, the eastern rivers helped power the Industrial Revolution that changed the American way of life during the 19th century. In addition to studying waterways, landforms, and population, geographers are also quite interested in the communities of animals and plants, called biomes. The United States features a wide variety of biomes, such as forests, grasslands, and deserts. When studying biomes, geographers prepare vegetation or land cover maps that are based on the predominant forms of plant life in a certain area. The yellow-green color on this vegetation map shows that temperate conifer forests cover much of the land near the Pacific coast, the Rocky Mountains, and the southeastern region of the lower 48 states. These are forests of cone-bearing trees that thrive in temperate climates where great extremes of temperature rarely occur. In Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, temperate conifer forests of fir and spruce trees cover thousands of square miles. Temperate broadleaf forests, shown in blue-green, cover vast areas of land in the eastern half of the United States. Broadleaf forests are made up of hardwood trees, such as maples and oaks. These forests provide an excellent habitat for deer and many other animals. And, unlike most conifers, broadleaf trees are deciduous, meaning that they lose their leaves each fall, usually creating quite a brilliant spectacle as they do so. Compared to the great forest biomes of the west and east, very few trees are found in the temperate grasslands that extend across much of the central United States. Huge herds of buffalo once grazed on these grasslands before the buffalo hunters and settlers nearly wiped them out.